What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Dad Wise podcast. Excited about this one. I'm excited about all of them. I don't know if you could tell, but we interviewed John this week from Frontiersman Living. He came to us from an undisclosed location in Montana, and we just talked about how they are raising their children to be connected to the land, raising animals, cultivating a garden, woodworking, all sorts of great stuff, teaching your kids to be involved with the things that you're involved in, and homeschooling. So great conversation. Also touched on men's mental health, how to take care of yourself as a dad. So I think you guys are going to like this conversation. Let's jump into it. All right, I'm here with John from Frontiersman Living on Instagram, frontiersman.living. Excited to talk to you today. Thanks for jumping on the Dad Wise podcast. I've got a lot of questions for you, so I'm excited to get this rolling.
Well, I'm grateful to be here, and thank you for the invites.
Yeah. Will you start by just kind of giving us a background of who you are and how many kids you have, where you're located, and all that?
All right. So my name is, I go by John B on there on Instagram,
Okay.
but my name is John Brunn. My wife is Shelby Brunn, and we have 3 kiddos. We have one that's pretty fresh, 3 months old.
Nice.
And
Congrats.
then we have 2 older, Rowan, he's 6 years old, and then Brea, she's 2.5. So we have 3 kiddos that keep us extremely busy. We include them in nearly everything that we're doing. And we're located in Montana.
Montana.
As
All right.
specific as I'm going to get here.
And undisclosed location. Yeah.
Undisclosed location in the mountains of Montana.
I love it.
And was there any other information?
Yeah.
There?
No, that's great. How long have you guys been in Montana? Is that home for you, or did you guys move there?
Yeah, this is home for us. We're pretty much from Montana.
Cool.
I say pretty much because I was born in California.
Gotcha.
All of the people are like, Montana people don't like Californians. Just
It's an dirty word in Montana.
Yeah. Well, I was born there, and then my family relocated when I was very little. But yeah, we have been back in Montana for 2 years, and we spent 7 years up in Bush, Alaska. Where we had a couple kids and built a place up there, and we figured that we needed to be closer to family members, just for the sake of our own mental health and for our kiddos, because we were only seeing family members once or twice a year. So it's pretty hard on everyone. So we're very grateful to be back. And in fact, we have a bunch of family members coming over tomorrow. So
nice. Yeah. Grandparents, aunts, uncles. It's great to have everybody around, especially if you need a babysitter every once in a while. Yeah.
For sure.
Nice. Talk a little bit about what you guys do. I've seen some of your posts on Instagram, your farming, gardening, all sorts of stuff. Will you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, I mean, we like to do a lot of stuff. We almost have too many interests and hobbies. I want to say almost, because you can never have enough, but there's not enough time in the day to do everything that we like to do.
Right.
So we stay perpetually busy. We're kind of call it like a homestead, but it's not entirely a homestead yet. But we have some acreage in the mountains here, and we have a nice little meadow, and we have a substantial garden that we're working to fill. This is our 2nd year with it.
Yeah.
We have some goats that we recently got.
Nice.
Chickens and guineas. So a good part of our mornings revolve around taking care of the animals and planning ahead for what the coming weeks, months are going to look like with the animals and the garden. And just this past week, we are having production in our garden of more than we eating. So we wrote a little lemonade stand, and we were selling some more garden produce and extra stuff too. So we're not like full-fledged farming yet, but it's kind of on a far-flung goal to turn every usable space and on our property into something that's going to be productive for ourselves or for our community members.
Yeah, that's awesome. Have you guys always been interested in gardening, farming, or is that kind of a journey for you?
So when we lived up in Alaska, we had a garden and chickens up there. We were actually the only people within like a couple 100 miles that had chickens, and
Okay.
the eggs were highly sought after in our village.
Nice.
We
There you
had an
go.
egg list of about 40 people that we worked through and made sure everyone got eggs occasionally.
Awesome.
But as far as the gardening, I think this is year 5 for us of
Okay.
gardening. As far as I'm trying to do it on a larger scale, not just little tiny plots.
Sure.
And we were pretty successful up in Alaska. Alaska has an amazing growing season.
Okay.
Not in the duration of like, it usually is from June until September. But during that
Okay.
time period, there's such abundance of sunlight during the days, the
Right.
long days, that you can grow some massive stuff. And if anyone's
That's awesome.
familiar with like the Alaska State Fair up
Okay.
there, there's people that grow like 100-pound cabbages and stuff like that.
Nice.
So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, when you guys get sun up there, you really get it.
Yeah.
How far north is Bush? Is it up there? I'm not looking at a map right now.
So bush is just the term to mean that
Oh,
you're off the road system.
gotcha.
Yep. So we were off the road system. It was fly in only, and technically you could boat or
Gotcha.
barge in, but that was more or less for materials and supplies and stuff like that.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
but yeah, we were about an hour bush flight out of Anchorage. So
Okay.
yeah.
Nice. Way up there. How did you guys choose to go to Alaska?
So my wife and I was then my girlfriend. We were dating, and she had an opportunity to go up to Bush, Alaska, for a teaching experience
Okay.
in college because she was going to school to be a teacher.
Nice.
And she decided to jump on that opportunity, and she went up there for 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
And I came up on her spring break, and well, I guess my spring break. She didn't really have
Yeah.
one because she was kind of teaching and working. Um, but I came up on my spring break and hung out with her for about a week up there.
Nice.
And up in those rural villages, they really try to uh, get couples to teach in
Okay.
those villages because they're more
Huh.
likely to stick around and not be as lonely per se
Yeah.
than a single person.
Yeah, that makes
So they
sense.
really kind of attacked us. They're like, "Hey, we
Stay.
have some opportunities for you guys, and we want you to stay. Like,
Yeah.
we'll sign you on contracts right now for next year if you guys
Cool.
want to." So, and I didn't even go to school to be a teacher. Um, I went to school for environmental science. So I
Okay.
got a BA in environmental science from a college here in Montana.
Nice.
And they're like, "It doesn't matter if you don't have a teaching degree. We'll take you." And I was like, "I don't know how that works, but let's figure it out." So
Perfect.
we both signed contracts, and then I actually went to University of Alaska Southeast. And
Okay.
while I was teaching, I was also going to school myself to get my master's in education.
Cool.
And through that master's in education program, I got a teaching certificate.
Nice.
So it was a lot. I did it in a year and a half, and they said I had 2 years to do it, but I was
Nice.
putting in like 80 to 100-hour weeks between teaching and school
Yeah.
for that first year and a half. So it was pretty brutal, but it granted us this awesome opportunity to be in this remote fishing
Yeah.
village with phenomenal fishing, hunting, and yeah, it was kind of crazy how we ended up there, and we kind of worked on a 5-year plan.
Okay.
Like, we'll try to stick this out for 5 years and see where it
Yeah.
goes.
Cool.
And on like year 3 or 4, I can't remember, maybe it's year 4, we had an opportunity to buy an acre and a half parcel of land.
Okay.
It was kind of like a pristine area, and we jumped on that and decided to build a place up there.
Cool.
And then we started having kids, and things get a little bit more complicated when you start having kids, and there's a lot more concerns as far as safety and
Yeah.
how close you are to nearest hospital, and just kind of
Sure.
a lot of things to think ahead for as far
Right.
as providing for your family.
Right. Especially your oldest is a boy, right? And so they're always, I mean, at least my boys are always trying to jump off stuff, and they're just trying to break arms and stuff. So it's like
Yeah.
nice to be a little closer to medical care if you can be.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. How have you guys involved your children? Are you homeschooling? Is that
Yeah,
I kind of gathered from, yeah.
So it's kind of unofficial as of right now. Technically, if
Okay.
the state of Montana, it doesn't have to be registered through a homeschool kind of program until he's 7 years old, but we've been
Okay.
homeschooling unofficially for a few years now.
Yeah.
So we just kind of involve them in our day-to-day lives, and we're very
Yeah.
intentional with how our days look and what we're involving them in. Like I said, we try to involve them in nearly everything that we're doing, even if it's
Yeah.
something that's beyond their capabilities. We try to, chunk it up so it's something that they're able to contribute to.
Yeah.
Um, so there's everything takes a little bit longer to
Yeah.
include them in on
Yeah.
those things. And it can be very frustrating at times, and things don't follow an expected timeline, for example. But the skills that they're acquiring from
Yeah.
partaking in those things are very beneficial, and not only for them but for us as well.
Yeah.
Just for them to contribute and to be able to, I don't know, apply and hopefully be interested in some of the things that we're doing in the future.
Yeah. What's like a, do you guys both work on the homestead, or I guess you said it's not an official homestead, but
Yeah,
do you guys, are you both full time at
yeah.
home, or are you guys going out to work and coming home, or
Nope,
what's
we're
like a
both.
tip? Yeah. What's
Yeah,
a typical day look like for you guys?
we're both full time at home,
Cool.
which is a blessing because
Yeah.
we're able to stay home with our kids and very intentional with how they're being raised and what they're exposed to.
Yeah.
But it can also be a challenge because we have the kids have access to us at all times during our
Yeah.
days for the most part. So
Yeah.
if we have a deadline to meet something, it can be hard to meet that deadline just because we're attending to everyone's needs at all times.
Yeah.
But a typical day as two, I don't want to say stay-at-home parents, but work from home parents.
Yeah.
Uh, I usually start my day before everyone else. I try to get up around 5:30,
Yeah.
and I get in some intentional movements. So a workout, and I go and check on our animals, make sure they're all kosher in the morning, and I
Yeah.
start preparing breakfast for everyone. And the kids get up and make sure everyone's fed, and then we
Yeah.
move right on to usually like our morning chores around the house and
Cool.
animal chores. So our
Yeah.
mornings, the first few hours of the morning after being fed, we usually go outside.
Yeah.
That morning daylight for everyone is especially important for regulating our circadian rhythms and
Right.
our overall well-being. So we take that pretty seriously. Um, and sometimes in the mornings if we're pressing some deadlines, Shelby and I,
Yeah.
both of us will spend an hour or 90 minutes or so working on our phones, which is,
Yeah.
I just watched a reel, one of your YouTube videos of,
Yeah.
you know, phone using by parents being the new secondhand smoke.
The new second, yeah.
It's an extremely difficult uh, thing to approach with your children.
Yeah.
Be mindful of when a lot of your work is based from your phone or based from the computer, and you're
Yeah.
working from home. So
Right.
you probably can relate to that as well.
Right. You're like, I'm sitting here, but I'm actually working all of a sudden. It's nice to have like segmented times, like this is my work time,
Yep.
and then you can just put the phone down and be like, now it's uh us time, or I'm actually here now. So
Yeah,
that's like a
exactly.
whole new ball game for modern parents to try to navigate the
It
phone.
is. You're physically present often or most of the time,
Yeah.
but you're not always mentally present just because
Right.
of having to be on your phone working on something exclusively.
Right.
Um, but yeah, we come up for lunch. So our property is kind of divided. We have an upper property and a lower property. So
Okay.
our house is literally like up on the side of a mountain. And we have to
Cool.
hike down to our lower property where we have all of our animals and our outbuildings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice to be separated. We don't get any internet or any cell service down at our lower property.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of cut off from everything, which has huge
Yeah.
benefits because we're not distracted. We can't be on our phones.
Right.
But at the same time, if someone's up here, there's not that connectivity. In
Sure.
fact, there's been instances where there's been bears up here,
Okay.
and I've come up the hill at night
Yeah.
and have run right into bears when Shelby was trying to get a hold of me to let me know.
Jeez.
But it's a pretty cool setup that we have here.
Yeah.
And then so we have lunch. We have to come back up for lunch usually,
Right.
and kids have some quiet time where we're either intentionally working with them, reading, writing.
Sure.
We have these called Yodo players, which play stories or songs for them,
Yoda. Okay.
which are
Nice.
a phenomenal tool uh,
Yeah.
for them education wise.
Right.
And then we try to get a little bit more, squeeze in some more work here and there.
Yeah.
And then usually we're back outside to something homeschool wise, whether it's like an outdoor lesson.
Yeah.
Like this time of year, we're doing a lot with obviously gardening and taking care of animals, but then we're also looking at plants. Like we're working our plant press, plant identification,
Cool.
looking at bugs,
Yeah.
animals, all sorts of stuff. So we're kind of working cyclically with the seasons,
Yeah.
just taking opportunities as they come.
Yeah.
Almost every day, there's something new to be found right in our area here. So it's
Right.
kind of an outdoor school opportunity.
Yeah. That's
And
awesome.
then, yeah, we do dinner, and kids go to bed fairly early, which
Yeah.
is great. I
Yeah.
mean, they go hard all day. Like
Yeah.
they keep very busy and go to bed 6:30, 7 o'clock, and sleep for 12 hours.
There you go.
And
That's
then that,
ideal.
yeah, it is phenomenal. And then that time after the kids go to bed until 10:30, usually that's like our time or my time. Shelby's usually with Bowden, our youngest, trying to get
Right.
him, keep him asleep.
Yeah.
But I get a lot done after that as far as prepping things for the next day, working on things that
Yeah.
I couldn't work on with the kids. Um, like jewelry is a big thing, big
Okay.
money maker for our family. So I'm working
Cool.
on jewelry. Sometimes and during that time period, I'll devote another hour or so to social media and answering
Okay.
emails and collaborations with people. So
Right.
it's very long days,
That's a
especially
full
this,
day.
yeah, starting
Yeah.
at 5:30 in the morning and usually ending about 10:30.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's solid. Yeah,
yeah,
we put our kids down to bed at like 7 every night too. And our friends that both like work full time out of the house are like, what? That's crazy. We're like, well, no, we're with our kids all day because we homeschool also, and I'm a photographer, videographer, so I'm like in and out of the house, and
right.
but I'm home most of the time, and so it's like, yeah, we've had a solid day together already. We're 10 hours in by the time 7 o'clock rolls around, so it's
Yeah,
like we need some me time. So
yeah. By the
that's
time
awesome.
dinner comes around, I'm sure you're feeling it. That kids are
Yeah,
getting a little bit whiny. It's winding down for the day, and
yeah,
yeah, it can you can take the cues from the kids of when they've had enough and they're ready for bed. So there's
yeah,
no point in kind of pushing it along more.
yeah. What's your like main source of like income? Is it the jewelry deal? I think I saw it was linked on your Instagram. Is it your wife's page? She
Uh,
has an Instagram page too. I'm
I
trying
don't
to
know if
find it.
it's linked on her page. I think it's just on mine. Well, actually, I'm not sure if I have it linked on my personal account, but I have a separate social media account called Stonewall Wright.
Okay,
So I make jewelry there. I do carvings. I make pet
nice,
sleds. I sell some of Shelby's stuff that she makes. We're kind of
cool,
just creators of all sorts of
nice.
stuff. Like I said, tons of interests and hobbies, and
Yeah,
that's something that we're passing on to our children as well. That we're not kind of pushing those things on them,
right.
but if we're doing them around them, and they show interest in trying it out,
Yeah,
then more power to them, and we're happy to help them along and try to show them what that's all about. But yeah,
yeah.
so
I mean it. Yeah, kids usually end up doing what you're doing anyway because that's what's available to them. So yeah,
exactly. But so creating items is definitely a good source of our income, and then
yeah,
we have collaborations with other companies that we align with. Like usually, it's stuff that we like products that we already believe in and use,
sure.
and that we're happy to share about with other people. So we have
Sure. Yeah.
collaborations and affiliate marketing with those companies.
Gotcha.
Um,
Cool.
and then just odds and ends that whatever we can do to make money.
Sure.
So like my father-in-law is a farmer rancher, and I'll throw in and do like harvest with him or
Yeah.
calving season. Um, make a little bit of money here and there. So kind of just
Yeah.
doing everything we can right now. Like we've been able to maintain what we've been doing for just over 2 years without
Yeah.
either of us working a 9 to 5,
Yeah.
which is
That's
great.
awesome.
And we gave up that 9 to 5 5 days a week, but oftentimes we're working from
5 to 10.
5 to 10, and we're working 7 days a week. So
Yeah.
there's definitely some sacrifices that come along with that. We're able to
Yeah.
spend our full days with the children, but we're also putting in longer days. And um, I heard a really good slogan from another, I don't know if they're kind of like a vlogger type
Okay.
person. They said that our work has become our life and our life has become our work,
Yeah.
which kind of feel that like we're not videoing every single day of our life, every
Right.
moment of our life, and uploading that for like millions to see. But a good chunk of our day, we're always thinking about like, what kind of content can I be creating?
Yeah.
And like, what do I have due for this company for collaboration? And
Sure.
so it's a lot to be handling, but
Yeah.
we're not sure if it's going to be a forever thing. We obviously know
Sure.
it's probably not sustainable forever, but while we have the opportunity, we're going to try to stay home with our children and raise them
Y-
intentionally.
Yeah, especially while they're young, it's so important to be close to them. And it turns out you need less money when you're growing a lot of your own food, and you have
Yeah,
I mean, if you spend less, you don't need to make as much. And so
yeah,
that's been a mindset shift for me. I don't know. Do you read any Wendell Berry? I've been kind of on the Wendell Berry kick the last couple years
I haven't,
since.
but I'm intrigued.
Yeah, Wendell Berry's kind of he's a farmer in Kentucky, environmentalist, and so he writes poetry and novels and
Okay,
essays. Nick Offerman reads his audiobooks, which is pretty fun.
okay,
So um, but yeah, he just talks about like the household economy, and so how households used to be the primary source of livelihood and life. Um, and a short summary of the book is just basically that after the industrialization of America, we've gone from like working for food and uh, growing all of our own stuff to going and making money and then
yeah,
buying the food. And so we've added in a middleman or two or three between
yeah,
us and the land. And so
for
um,
sure.
just the importance of being connected. And so if anyone's interested in the farming world, I love Wendell Berry's stuff. So he paints a beautiful picture of what life can be like living off the land, from the land,
Yeah,
and with the land.
I'm very
So
interested. I had to jot down a note here just to look into that because
yeah,
I definitely see kind of the lifestyle we're trying to lead aligning with those values.
yeah,
And it's something that we think about a lot. As far as we spend a lot of time home. We're homebodies anymore.
yeah,
We're always trying to think about like, how can we be sustainable where we are, and how can we contribute to the community where we
yeah,
are. And oftentimes our house is an absolute disaster because we have so much going on. And then we also keep in mind that like we're home all the time. We actually
yeah,
live in our house, whereas a lot of modern society,
yeah.
they leave the house at 8 o'clock in the morning and they come back at 5 o'clock in the evening. They're
It's a
hardly
place to
living
sleep
in
and watch TV. Yeah.
exactly. They're not really getting the full value of their homes. They're just using it like a hotel room. So
Right. Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, man, we do dishes 3 times a day here, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Is like got to do like paper plates or something. This is crazy, but
yeah,
because if you can't let it stack up, because then you don't have dishes for dinner.
exactly. And then
Yeah.
if you have a
Well, your
dishwasher,
background,
well,
yeah, your background looks clean to me, so it looks like you guys have at least this corner of the house is
yeah, I made
well
sure
put
that I was aligned
together.
pretty well here, so you didn't see
Turn the
everything
camera.
else.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I've seen some videos of you with like your son carving with a knife and shooting bows and arrows. What are some of like the activities that you like to do with him? He's 6 now, right? And
Yeah.
so, yeah, what's some of the his favorite outdoor stuff that you bring him along with as far as like
He's
hobbies or
he's
those kinds of
extremely
things?
passionate about anything outdoors and really
Yeah,
anything that involves spending time, like one-on-one time.
yeah,
He's all about that. And but hunting and fishing is like where his true passion lies.
yeah.
But anything that revolves around uh, well, anything that I'm interested in anymore,
Right.
he's like, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, we're
So,
chopping wood today. That's
yep,
awesome. Yeah,
exactly. That's exactly what we were doing yesterday. We were splitting wood. Um, we were doing that yesterday and chopping kindling, and
nice.
uh, he he's just happy to throw in doing anything. Like he's
Right,
passionate about animals. That's kind of something that I've always been passionate about animals and uh, not necessarily raising animals, but like
right.
wildlife, because that's what I went to school for.
Okay, nice.
But that's kind of spilled over into animal husbandry almost, like taking
Sure.
care of animals, raising them. And he just, like right now, he's hand raising a couple chicks that we hatched out
Awesome.
about 3 weeks ago. And he just loves playing with them, loves animals, taking care of
Right.
them, making sure that they're safe, they're fed, they're
Yeah.
healthy. So there's kind of similar to us, we're rubbing off on our children that he gets up in the morning and he's ready to go do everything and anything that's
Right.
presented to him. So
Yeah, I
like
love that.
I had to mow the part of our lawn that the goats aren't eating before the family
Okay.
came, and his big thing lately is he wants to mow the lawn.
Yeah,
Well, we take some safety precautions and put him on the rider lawnmower,
sure.
and he has a little section down there that after we hop off here, I'm going to help him to finish that. And
Yeah,
so he's
love that.
really he's like an ambitious kid, tons of energy that just loves to throw in and be helpful and do
Yeah,
anything. So
I love it. I feel like our children are like most wasted resource. Like they want to work and they want to be with us, and we just stick them in school all day and make them sit at a desk. I'm like, we need to get these
yeah,
kids out there mowing our lawns and stuff. Yeah.
and it's kind of a two-sided thing there because we've received flack from people like in the social media world that we're using our children as like unpaid labor,
Oh,
for example. And it's like, well, in the olden days, it was even more extreme than that.
right.
And there actually was like some child labor going on.
Sure.
But, we are asking him if he would like to be included on these things. And
Right.
we're not kind of like, hey, you're going to mow the lawn today. Otherwise, you won't get dinner.
Yeah.
So it's, we're presenting opportunities, and if they want to grab hold of those, they're welcome to, and we're going to include them. But if they don't show interest or they're scared or they're tired, like we're not going to force them to do anything either.
Right. I love that. That's
Yeah.
great. Do you think you plan on homeschooling for the long haul, or are you
Yeah.
you're full you're all in?
Yeah, it's kind of, we've had a lot of discussions
Yeah.
about like the social aspect, and they did get plenty of socialization just from other homeschool families and outdoor
Yeah.
kind of schools and programs that we uh, put them into.
Yeah.
But we're curious if they're ever going to show interest, like as they get older and going to a public school.
Yeah.
Um, so we'd kind of like to be open-minded, and we'd probably be very uh, kind of intentional and selective, like where they would go to school, and like we'd want
Right.
to know. We'd be like the kind of crazy parents that go in and try to talk to all the teachers and see,
Yeah.
um,
What's your deal? Yeah.
what's your deal? Can I get a thumbprint on you, please?
Yeah. With
So,
background check you.
yep.
I love it.
Seriously, we're for the most part, like if the kids are gonna be happy with homeschooling, then we're gonna stick with it. And,
Yeah.
both of us, Shelby spent 5 years as a teacher in elementary, and I spent 7 years as a teacher in middle school, high school. Um,
Okay.
so I don't want to
You
say
got them
that.
both covered. Yeah.
I don't want to say
You
that.
got all the ages covered between the two of you.
It
Yeah.
does, and that's kind of like what people say. It's like, oh, you got it covered then, and I don't want to like say that because we were teachers, it sets us up or we're well
Right.
equipped to teach our children. because homeschooling is a totally different, and it should be
Yeah.
totally different than the traditional education system.
Yeah.
So anyone's capable of homeschooling their kids. And there's plenty of people like, well, I don't think I know enough to homeschool my kids.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about homeschooling is like you can learn right along with them. Like you don't have to know the things
Yeah.
beforehand. There's plenty of parents that will learn right along with their kids. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah. That's what my wife ends up doing most of the time. It's like, all right, we're gonna learn about the weather, and so let's go to the library and get all the books and learn about weather. Like that,
Yeah.
and we'll read them, and then we'll look at the weather, and then we'll experience it outside, and then yeah,
Yeah.
it's we found that there's a lot of trial and error. My wife is like, she was really stressed about finding a good curriculum for a long time,
Right.
and then now she's just like, we've got something that does math and reading, but other than that, we're outside. So
Yeah.
it's you don't really need to stress too much about it. Just kind of meet the minimum requirements from the state and then just have fun. That's kind of what we've been doing so far, but
Yeah,
we'll
that's
see.
great.
My oldest is only 7, so we'll have to modify as we go, I'm sure.
Well, it sounds like you guys are doing a great job, and I feel like the home, like no diss on the people that essentially recreate the school system at home, but
Right.
that's not what homeschooling is intended to be. Like
Sure.
homeschooling is supposed to be something totally different from the conventional education system, and it's supposed to be something of your own, and it's supposed to take the interests of your children into account and even interests of
Yeah.
your own. So,
Yeah. Do you have any like resources that you would point people towards if they're like, I don't know, maybe like a book or two to push them over the edge or
yeah.
I don't know.
So kind of what launched this, I guess one of the contributing factors is, have you heard of 1,000 hours outside?
Yeah.
So 1,000 hours outside is something that we started doing with Rowan years ago, just being very intentional with how much time he's spending outside, just because there's a multitude of benefits from being outside and
Yeah.
outside play. And it's kind of where we started. And then as we transitioned back to Montana, we had opportunities for something called Tinker Garden,
Okay.
which is like an outdoor play school situation.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure where Tinker Garden is sitting right now, like nationwide, and like
Yeah.
what they offer around the nation. That's a great resource for like socializing for other kids,
Sure.
and getting them kind of, I don't want to say to another teacher, but essentially someone else can teach your children a little bit
Yeah.
different, and you can be there supervising. And again, you
Yeah.
get that social aspect. And then I feel like there are just a lot of homeschool groups and outdoor school groups in
Yeah.
communities that usually you're not aware of.
Right.
And if you're in a more rural location like us, you might have to travel a bit. So
Yeah.
we'll travel a little bit more than an hour each way to get to some of like our field school or outdoor school
Okay.
opportunities to kind of supplement in. Um, but as far as, I don't have any like suggested curriculum. It's kind of,
Okay.
look at your standards,
Yeah.
and obviously reading writing ones are going to be very cut and dry,
Sure.
but try to make it something related to what they're interested in. So if they're interested in animals, then make it related to
Yeah.
animals. Like
Yeah.
play to the interests of the kids. That's going to be the best way to approach it.
Right. Yeah. I love that. Because if your kids aren't interested in learning, then they're not going to learn, even if they're sitting at a desk. So,
For sure.
have you guys read what's it called, the Wild and Free book, The Call of the Wild and Free? I don't know
Yeah. Yep.
what's
So that
I
was,
have it on my desk. Yeah.
yep, we've read it, and we often will just kind of play sections of it in our vehicles, like as we're traveling, just kind of as reminders of why
Right.
we're doing what we're doing and new things that we can incorporate, things that we might have forgotten from the book.
Yeah.
And in fact, my wife was just sending me information that they have a wild and free gathering every year in
Oh yeah.
September. I think it was like in Tennessee.
Okay.
She's like, we should go this year.
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah.
September 15th, 16th. And the only thing that crossed my mind was like, that's during hunting season.
That's awesome.
So we'll
Maybe
see.
there's hunting there. Yeah.
Yeah, there'd be hunting opportunities, but do they have elk?
Yeah.
But
That's awesome.
we'll see.
Yeah, we've talked about going to that too. We're having a baby in August though, so we're
Oh,
probably
wow.
not going to be jumping on that one. But
Well,
uh,
congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
getting close. We're
So
about a
that's
month
going
and
to
a
be
half away.
number four for you, right?
4, yeah.
Holy
We're
smokes.
a nice even number. I think we're
Yeah.
gonna try to be done with 4, so we'll see. But
Yeah. I mean, they say
no
that
promises.
anything after two or three is like, it doesn't get any harder. And
Yeah.
my wife was just telling me this morning, she's like, oh, baby number three, like, they're so easy. It's no wonder people just have four. And I was like,
Yeah.
we just had number two 2 weeks ago. Like,
Don't get too cocky yet. Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, our third is 2.5 now, and so we're doing pretty good. How can we throw a monkey wrench in this? It's like
Yeah.
let's have a fourth. Yeah,
That's usually, yep.
everything seems too easy right now.
That's
Let's
usually how it
let's
goes. You find some nice rhythms and stuff like that. And then you're like, well, I think it'd be a great time to add another child to the family. And then you kind of
super
start
good.
from scratch all over again. But
You know what? I'd like to stop sleeping again. That was great. Yeah.
yep.
That's awesome. How do you you've been posting a little bit about mental health. We're in June right now, Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. How do you approach that for yourself, maintaining your own mental health? How do you think about that topic?
Yeah. So it's funny because it's something that I think about quite often just because I'm literally like pouring myself into my family then almost the
Yeah,
entire day, every day. And it is exhausting both physically and mentally. Um, and I used to have on my work computer when I was teaching a sticky note that I taped in my computer, and it said like it's just a reminder that you can't pour from an empty cup.
yeah,
And so there's things that you have to do to recharge on a daily basis, hopefully, to stay healthy physically and mentally, so I can still continue to show up for my family and
yeah,
for work purposes, of course. So that's part of the reason I get up when I do. I get up at
yeah.
5:30 so I can have. It sounds bad, but I have kind of been a loner. Like before I had a family and wife, I was kind of a loner. I spent a lot of time on my own
Okay. Yeah,
in the backcountry, fishing, hunting, just a lot of alone time. So that's kind of
yeah,
my recharge is alone
yeah,
time. So I get up early and I have my workout and have some quiet time where I'm not stimulated by children and all the tasks I have to do for that day.
right.
Um, and another thing that I've been incorporating since I think December of last year has been cold
Okay.
plunges.
Yeah,
Well, and
nice.
that's kind of a hormetic stressor, something that's going to stress your body, but it makes you more tolerant of stress
Yeah,
and just kind of more stable, kind of level headed, just kind of bring some mental clarity, another physical and mental challenge that's going to let you know that like, that was hard, but
yeah,
compared to other things throughout the day, it's going to make those easier.
yeah.
I have
How
been,
long?
no, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. I've been just thinking about cold plunges. I feel like a lot of people are talking about it right now, but
Yeah.
and I get advertised on Instagram of like the portable ones that you just pop up and fill
Yeah.
up and then put back down.
Right.
Uh, how long does it take for it to not be awful when you first get in, or is it always the same like shock and pain for the first couple? Is it
you,
minutes or seconds? How does that work?
you build up a tolerance just like anything.
Yeah,
If you're a coffee drinker and you start out with a little bit of coffee, your tolerance to the caffeine is going to build over time. So it's a similar thing with the cold plunge. If you're going to get into it, start with, a cold shower, but
yeah.
don't just all immediately blast it to the coldest setting. Just kind of ease into it
Okay.
and do it for, 15 seconds. And then the
Yeah,
next, 2 days later, do it for 30 seconds and just kind of ease your way in. And then as you get into like, a minute or two, that setting, make it colder.
yeah,
You can't just throw yourself directly into 32-degree water with ice in
yeah.
it for 3 minutes and expect not to be
Hate it.
to be like, yeah, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah. Do you do it daily? Is that part of like your morning routine or?
I try to do it in the evenings. Not every
Okay.
day anymore, just because I've noticed that if I do it every day, I build up such a tolerance to it that it doesn't
Huh.
feel like a benefit anymore. So for a while in December and January, I think I did like 35 straight days. And I got
Okay.
to the point where, I had my trough full of ice and the water was
Yeah.
literally, 31, 32 degrees.
Yeah.
And I would dunk my head and sit in there for 3 to 5 minutes and I'd be totally fine. Like it
Yeah.
was kind of like I didn't feel like it was a challenge anymore when I was
Huh.
doing it
That's
every day.
wild.
But once I started
Yeah.
doing it, 3 to 4 times a week, or even 1 or 2 times a week, it became a lot more of a challenge.
Yeah.
So,
Do you just
so
have a trough outside ready to
yes,
go all the time? Yeah.
yep, I do. In fact, the kids are playing in some water right now in that
There you
trough.
go.
So,
It probably stays nice and cold in January and December out there. You don't even have to add ice, I bet.
no, I don't, which is
Just
great. But
break.
I
You
need
might
to
have to
work.
break the top even. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to work on keeping it from freezing solid. So,
Yeah, you don't want to be sitting on a cube of ice. That's not helpful.
yeah. But as far as other things for mental health, I think it's great to have like an outlet and someone else to talk to.
Yeah.
Like even for myself personally, like a friend, having a friend that's like minded to talk to, and I don't want to say vent,
Yeah.
but almost to have someone else to talk to and just kind of talk about your challenges and
Yeah.
even the things that are going good in your life. So it sounds bad, but kind of use social media as that. And there are
Okay.
some like online friends and stuff that I have, but I have very few like in person friends.
Right.
And I think it's just a part of getting older and being
Yeah.
parent adults is kind of your friends drop off over time. Like once you get out of college or out of high school,
Right.
and your values change, your priorities change, and they don't necessarily align with those people that you grew up with or used to be friends with. And it's
Yeah.
hard to maintain and keep relationships with those people that you would be in contact with or someone that's reliable that you would talk to.
Right. Yeah. That's so important having a community of like-minded men around to bounce things off of and be like, is being a dad hard? Yeah, it's hard, right? Like this is
Yep.
good. I'm just checking. I'm not crazy. Everyone's just struggling through it. So
Yeah.
that's an important thing to have.
It is.
What would you say for you has been like the hardest thing about being a dad as far as like transitioning from no kids to kids? It's been 6 years now, so I'm sure you're acclimated to the new normal.
Yeah.
But
And the hardest thing, um, I think it would be, I was just talking about this with my wife the other night, but not beating yourself up too much.
yeah,
Parenting is hard enough as it is, that there's a lot of ways that we raise our children. And we play the compare game, you know, looking
yeah,
at, oh, someone else's kid is able to do this at their age. Or,
right,
this is what the way we raised our child. Did we mess them up at all? Like,
yeah,
Rowan, for example, we didn't know any better when he was younger, but we traveled a lot. We spent a lot of time on the road. We spent a lot
yeah,
of time in like a backpack or a carrier. And because of that, like he didn't walk until he was like 18 months old.
okay,
And we're like, well, how badly did we mess him up? Because now that we've got more educated as parents, and about children in general, like how crucial that is for a child to be able to crawl around on the floor and have tummy time, like
yeah,
not only for their physical development, but for their mental development.
right,
So there's a
yeah,
lot of things that we kick ourselves about. And, as a parent, we're just doing the best that we know how to do. And it's
yeah,
hard not to look back on the things that you've already done with your kids and like, just kind of regret those things and beat yourself up about it. Um,
yeah,
so just kind of focusing on the present and the future and not dwelling on what you've done as in the past as a parent, because
right,
you have the opportunity to make things right and to correct them.
yeah. I was just thinking about that this morning with my my son, my oldest son. I was like, man, this is just a giant experiment. Like everything that he does is like the first time. Like we started soccer, so I started coaching soccer. I've never coached soccer before. Like I've never potty trained before him. We've never sleep trained before him. We haven't like, and so I was like, I'm gonna call him later because they're down in California right now. But
Right.
just like, man, I have so much more grace for him because it's like, thank you for putting up with us as
Yeah.
we practice on you. I'm hoping by the fourth we'll be like just crushing it, but we'll see. Like number one is like he'll be the most resilient probably for sure because it's
Yep.
like mom and dad are just like we were like 24 and I was like, man, we don't know what we're doing. So
Yeah.
it's yeah, I just like want to give him a hug, say sorry all the time.
Yeah.
We're
Yep.
just doing our best.
Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one that feels like that, and we're not the only parents that feel that. But those firstborns, they put up with a lot of crap as
Yeah.
we grow as adults and humans. We're not perfect, and we're not going to get it perfect. And those firstborns put up with a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just so grateful that he still likes me. He's still nice to me. So even after doing all messing everything up, but
Right.
um, cool. I want to talk about your chickens because it says on Instagram that I should
Yeah.
ask you about your chickens.
Right.
How many chickens do you have?
Currently, we have 20 grown hens, one rooster, and then we have 14 chicks that we hatched out um,
Nice.
3 weeks ago.
Did you put those in an incubator or do you just let one of the hens roost on it?
So we ended up
Or
getting an
not roost?
incubator only
Okay.
because we had broody hens, but they weren't
Yeah.
consistently sitting their clutches. They're kind of
Yeah.
bouncing around. They couldn't decide what they wanted to do. So we wanted to
Yeah.
make sure that they were going to turn out. But we did have a specific broody hen
Okay.
that had been broody for months, and we were
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I'm going to try to reintroduce some chicks to her to see if she takes them.
Yeah.
And she did. And we ended up
That's
putting up
awesome.
a dozen chicks with her. We actually hatched out 26 chicks.
Wow. Okay.
And then we had part of homesteading is you're going to deal with loss, unfortunately.
Right.
And we had them in one of our goat pens and
Yeah.
probably for about a week and a half. And then we had some ravens that came in and unfortunately
Oh,
took all the chicks.
all of
And
them.
all
Dang.
of them. And the chicks that we had left over that we weren't going to keep, we were going to give to a neighbor down the road.
Yeah.
And I immediately gave those chicks back to that hen because she was very much in distress.
Yeah.
And she immediately took those chicks. So we instead just, we kept them obviously, and we lent our incubator and gave our neighbor
Gotcha.
a couple dozen eggs to incubate some.
Start on your own. Yeah. Tell them to put a roof on the deal. The
Yeah.
ravens, they don't wait. Like we had a raccoon get into our chicken coop and they just like killed like three of them in one night. I was like, come on, at
Yeah.
least give me a chance to fix it before you take all of them. But
Yeah. It can
uh,
be, that's like one of the heartbreaking things with having a homestead or even a backyard flock of chickens is
yeah,
inevitably you're always going to have some type of loss.
yeah,
That's a good learning experience, as bad as that sounds, to
yeah.
use that as a learning experience. But yeah.
I think so. For kids to see death, it sounds dark, but like the circle of life, and to know like all things come from the earth and all things go back to the earth.
Yep.
We're pretty insulated from like where our food comes from and what happens to living beings if like the life is taken from them.
Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly.
it can be, yeah. Our first time we lost a chicken, our children were very sad, and then we've lost more since then, and they're like a little bit less sad every time. So,
Yeah.
uh, but they play with like I was thinking the other day, like baby chicks are the best toy you can buy your kids. Like my kids will just sit out in the grass with them and like chase them around and like this is the most bang for your buck. $5 for a chick.
Yeah.
And it's like months of entertainment. And then they
Yeah.
give you eggs after that. So
Exactly.
I highly recommend chickens to anyone.
I mean, they are the best kind of starting farm animal that you can have. You can have one or two and start in small spaces, and most cities even allow them. So
Yeah, we have them like right up against our house. So we like look out our window and see how they're doing. So they're a little they get stinky and dirty. They doing their dust baths in the summertime. It makes our house, the side of our house is all dirty, but it's all right. Hose it
Right.
down every once in a while.
Yeah. For
We don't
sure.
have a ton of space. We're on zero point 0.1 acres here, so we're
Gotcha.
doing what we can.
Yeah. Making the most of it. That's great.
Yeah, we've been looking for somewhere with some more space, but we're in the Pacific Northwest, and so land is not cheap here. So you have to get kind
Right.
of further out. But
Sure.
yeah, I had another question for you. I lost it. I'll circle back to it, but I wrote down. I wanted to ask you about like kind of the bush crafting stuff, your carving, your axe stuff. Did you learn that growing up, or have you developed that in your adult life?
So that's something that I've developed in my adult life. I think I'm very passionate about learning new things.
Yeah,
So I guess a lot of what I do, I'm doing it not only for myself, but something that I can pass on to my the children.
yeah,
So if I feel interested in something, then I'll take the time to invest in some tools, equipment, and that time to try to learn that skill.
yeah,
Um, and it's something that could be worthwhile either monetarily if it's something that I
right.
can contribute to our family there, or it's just a skill that's gonna be fun and beneficial for our kids to use or ourselves to use from time to time. So
Yeah,
kind of every time I have a few extra dollars, I'm like, well, there's this other skill that I've been thinking about and this tool that
yeah,
I need for it. I'm going to reinvest in myself or our family and put it towards that.
yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
yeah, always kind of thinking about other things that we can be learning to do.
Yeah. What are you working on now? What's your current uh
Yeah. Um,
not a hobby. What would you call it? Skill you're learning.
um, what is the newer one that I've been doing? I got onto like a carving kick last
Yeah.
year after learning it, and then I didn't do it for probably 6, 8 months, and I just kind of
Okay.
picked it up again this
Yeah.
last week because I found
That's
like a
awesome.
tree that I liked, a juniper tree, and I was like, oh, this is
Oh, I
gonna
think
be
I
great.
saw that. You make
Yeah,
like a spoon out of it or
yeah, a
a ladle,
spatula. Actually, I
spatula. Yeah.
always have some stuff sitting on the table here, so
There it is. Nice. Love that.
another one that I've been working on over here, and yeah,
And
there's
that's a
just
great, yeah.
but
I was gonna say that's a great one to involve kids with. I saw,
mhm,
I think one of your videos, your son is rocking a real knife, cutting
yep,
real wood. Like, I love that. Yeah.
yeah. So just kind of anything that's going to be hands-on, working with hands is kind of what I've been orienting to. Kind of physical work rather than just mental work.
Yeah.
Like one of the things I promised myself years ago when I was in college is that I'd never have a desk job.
Yeah.
That's kind of what being a teacher turned into. And
Yeah.
it got to the point where it's just mentally and physically exhausting to be spending my days in a building at a desk in front of kids.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm kind of taking advantage of this opportunity to work with my hands, and it's a lot more fulfilling
Right.
to make things that are enjoyed by others, and that I can spend time on something and I have something to show for it every single day, rather
Yeah.
than something that might take years to show anything, or you're not sure if you're actually making a
Sure.
difference. Or so.
Yeah. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, cool. Well, we're getting kind of towards the end of our time. Do you have any, I asked you kind of about homeschooling resources. Do you have any just books in general that you're reading or that you would point people towards who are interested in? I mean, we talked about a lot of different topics, but
Yeah.
if anyone wants to learn more, where would you send them?
Yeah. So the last few weeks, I think I shared about it recently. I've been working or reading through The Intentional Father.
Yeah,
Um,
John Tyson.
yep, John Tyson. And that one has been pretty eye opening. It
Yeah,
forces you not only to reflect on what you're doing as a father, but also how you were fathered. So, like,
yeah,
what your father did right or what he didn't do right, and kind of how that impacts how you're being a father. And
yeah,
yeah, and there's just a lot of great exercises in that as well. So even like
yeah,
after the first chapter, there was a suggested 24-hour fast and like prayer during that time.
Yeah.
And I've never done like an intentional fast before. So I did this
Yeah.
24-hour intentional fast, and it was pretty eye opening. Like
Yeah.
it
That's awesome.
was kind of cool to throw in challenges and exercises into that book to kind of really be able to hone in and focus on what you're doing and what your goals are as a father.
Yeah. Yeah. I went through that book a little bit ago, and it's kind of about like how to bring your son into fatherhood, kind of starting around like early teens, but
Yeah.
thinking about it now, like my son is 7 and just starting to build towards that. I'm really excited for kind of the initiation ceremony and all those different things he talks about. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of groundwork to do as a dad before you get there. Like there,
Exactly.
I don't know how far you got, but one of the practices is like write your dad a letter and like either forgive him or like thank him for all of the things he's given you. And that's a huge piece, man, of like developing as a father is to deal with your own father stuff. And so that
Exactly.
takes a lot of work.
I admit I have yet to do that letter because of kind of the mental challenge involved with that. And yeah, it's a great book. And even if
Yeah.
you are years away from that initiation period, it's important to be preparing because it might even take years to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, even just the fact that it's pushing an initiation for that transition between boyhood and manhood is like as one of the first things that stuck out to me in the book is that today's cultures, westernized cultures, they don't have that initiation or rite of passage. Like
Yeah.
what tells these boys that they're officially men? Like there's nothing
Right.
concrete to show that, and they don't necessarily have these masculine role models or these father figures that
Right.
are present and intentional to
Yeah.
help them to cross that barrier.
Yeah. And like you get your keys to your car and graduate high school and then you're off. But like
Yeah,
to have a older man drawing you out and pulling you into manhood, I'm excited for that. Just thinking through that. I'll have
yeah,
to reread that book again as when my son gets into 11, 12, 13-year old.
right.
Cool. Any other books that are you would send people towards or
Yeah,
resources to check out?
the other one I've been working through has been the comfort crisis.
Okay.
So I forget the name of the author. I just had his name pop up the other day because he was here in the state um,
Okay.
at the Mountain Tough Fitness Lab. I forget his
Okay.
name, but yes, the comfort crisis.
I'll link it. If
They're,
someone's interested, I can
they're
link it.
definitely
Cool.
it's more geared like if you're into like backcountry hunting and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. It talks a lot about hunting, but
Cool.
just kind of talking about how that's kind of what I center a lot of my mental, physical well-being on is not getting too comfortable. So as
Yeah.
far as mental and physical challenges to keep me sharp and to keep me level-headed and that kind of hardness in your life is necessary.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for jumping on today. If people want to find you on Instagram, frontiersman.living, is there anywhere else if people want to stalk you or
That's
follow what you're up
that's
to?
the main account. So
That's it.
yeah,
Instagram. Cool. You're not doing a YouTube vlog every day of your.
I'm not that dedicated to it as of yet.
That's a lot. That's
Not sure I ever will be, but
Yeah. You don't want to spend hours inside editing.
yep,
You're outside, so you can be outside.
yep.
Cool, man. Well, I will. Thanks for jumping on, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and I appreciate the message that you're sending on your page there, and inviting other dads and role models to be on your podcast here. I'm excited to see what else you produce and other dads that provide some insights, and it's going to be great.
Awesome. Thanks, man.